Lost kingdoms and mystery lands hold a special place in my heart. Researching them takes me back to a simpler time. A time when I was a child and I would be sat on the sofa watching classics like Kong or Journey to the Center of the Earth and even Mysterious Island. I guess these movies sowed a seed because since then I have always enjoyed a good geological mystery. Strange rock formations, out-of-place artifacts, and, just like the movies, missing islands and even disappearing continents. The tales of Eldorado, Atlantis, and the hidden world of Hollow Earth are stories which I always read when I come across them. But today, I want to stick a little closer to my home. I want to look at a phantom island said to lay to the west of Ireland. I am, of course, talking about Hy-Brasil. Let's take a look. Welcome to IF, videos on mystery, history, and the strange. Click that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a video again. On the west coast of Ireland is said to be a mysterious mystery island that shares much in common with the lost land of Atlantis. Like Atlantis, this magical land was written about by the Greeks. This lost land is of course named Hy-Brasil, but over the years it has gone by a number of different names. Hy-Breasal, Hy-Brasil, Hy-Breasal, Brazil, and Brazil. These names are said to be born of the Irish word Breasal, this word meaning High King of the World. So where could or can we find this mystery land? Hy-Brasil is said to hide in the North Atlantic Ocean on the west coast of Ireland. From 1325 AD, cartographers have claimed that those that wish to travel to the magical land should make their way to a location 200 miles from the coast. So, if you were to grab a boat and set sail, what would you find at these coordinates? Well, many say nothing, as this land is nothing more than myth, while many others say that the island is an actual place and that the traditional tales and ancient lore of Ireland point to this being a fact. What could be making the land of Hy-Brasil so difficult to find? Is it that it is said to be permanently covered in a thick fog? Others say that the land is a magical place which can vanish. The fog, it is claimed, will roll back once every 7 years, revealing the island to all and tempting brave adventurers to reach its shores. Many say that this is a fool's errand, as any attempt made to reach the island is doomed to failure. The legend of Hy-Brasil has been told across much of Europe for centuries, and many draw a comparison with that much more famous disappearing land of Atlantis. Hy-Brasil, however, is said to be far more plausible, with many accounts of sightings and a lot of documented evidence. This evidence coming in the way of maps and tales of sailors who found themselves on the land of Hy-Brasil. These witnesses to the wonders on the island describe a land that is a utopian place, said to be home of an advanced race and even home to the Irish gods of old. The island itself is said to be a paradise inhabited by large black rabbits, monks, and a wise old magician who lives in a grand castle. It is this wizard that is said to have placed a spell upon the land which keeps it unseen. He also bribes those that do find Hy-Brasil with gold and silver to keep his secret. This, according to a story told by Scottish sea captain John Nisbet, but more on him later. Like Atlantis, the people of Hy-Brasil was said to possess advanced technologies and be a more evolved race. Some even claim that they could possibly be alien. And like many mysterious lost lands, this link to extraterrestrials is supported by evidence. One of the most famous UFO incidents in British history has ties to Hy-Brasil. England's Rendlesham Forest incident happened in December of 1980. For those unfamiliar with the story, Rendlesham Forest is located close to an American-British military base. It was back in the winter of 1980 when a craft was seen landed in the wood. The incident saw the alien object discovered by servicemen, and one of the people involved in this alleged incident was Sergeant Jim Penniston, and he claimed that he touched the alien spaceship. This contact with the extraterrestrial craft was just the start of the story. As the man says, it was at this point when information was telepathically implanted into his brain through contact with the craft. The day after he had this contact with the mysterious vessel, he noted the information that he says was transmitted to him by the aliens. What followed was a 16-page document that consisted of a list of binary code which for many years seemed to be indecipherable. Fast forward a decade later or so, and the prevalence of modern computers meant that this code could now be cracked. It was run through software and successfully deciphered. What was uncovered was a very specific set of coordinates that pointed to specific spots around the planet. These locations were the pyramids of Giza, the Nazca lines, and the final one, yes, you've guessed it, pointed to the hidden land of Hy-Brasil. The coordinates given to Jim being 52.0942532 north, 13.131269 west, along with the words origin year 8100. Is this all coincidence, or is it hard proof that Hy-Brasil really did or does exist? There have been many strange maps that date back to lost times or show lost knowledge. The Piri-Reis map immediately springs to mind, but there are also Tibetan maps to Inner Earth and Nirvana. Could there be a cartography available that, when combined with the Rendlesham message, will uncover the island? Well, going back centuries, seamen, explorers, and others have looked for the lost land, and a few have succeeded. In 1480, a John Jay Jr. attempted what others said would be impossible, and he too was unsuccessful. He searched for a couple of months before returning to port, having failed to locate the mystery island. In the following year of 1481, the ships Trinity and George left the Bristol harbour in search of the lost island. They also had no luck locating Hy-Brasil. These voyages continued until, in 1497, someone claimed to have succeeded where so many others had not. Spanish diplomat Pedro de Ayala and Italian navigator who was known as John Cabot claimed to have found the land. For more than a century the island vanished once again, until in 1674 Scottish sea captain John Nisbet spotted Hy-Brasil. The captain said that on passing the Atlantic from France to Ireland, he saw the island and sent men ashore, these men basking the glory of Hy-Brasil's golden shores. Inspired by Nisbet's discovery, others went on to search for the land. The next man to claim success was a one Captain Alexander. This seaman backed up the claims of a wizard and giant black bunnies made by Nisbet. However, as time continued to pass, fewer and fewer reports of the mysterious island were made. One of the final reports of the lost island came in 1872 and was made by a Robert O'Flaherty and T.J. Westrop. Westrop recounts a story in which he and his entire family saw the island materialize and then vanish before their very eyes. Time continued to roll on, as it does, and slowly the reports of the island dwindled. Soon, whereas once Hy-Brasil was included in maps of the Irish seas, it was excluded, and it began to slip into myth and legend. The historical records of the island disappeared to the back shelves of libraries, rarely being looked at in the modern age. Hy-Brasil first appeared on record on an early map in 1325 by Genoese cartographer Angelino Dulcert. This was followed in 1375 when it was featured in a Catalan atlas. In this book, it was shown as two separated islands existing under the same name of Ilha del Brasil. 1436, Venetian maps show it only named as Sola del Brasil, these maps being curated by cartographer Andrea Bianco. 1595, and Hy-Brasil was part of the Ortelius map of Europe and the Europa Mercator map. Then finally, it was included as part of the 1865 map and is referred to as Brazil Rock. It was from this point in history that most cartographers chose to stop featuring it as part of their maps of that area. However, still to this day, researchers and archaeologists have searched in locations west of Ireland, and they have found evidence that an island once existed in that area. Shallow water shells have been found at Porcupine Bank, somewhat northwest of most likely location for the Irish island. Even further north, similar shells were discovered at Rock Hall. The disappearance of the landmass has also been reflected in many other islands local to the British Isles. Cornwall, the Isles of Scilly and many other coastal areas around the UK have been the sites of settlements that have been lost under rising sea levels, only being rediscovered in recent record low tides. There is evidence that the many found islets were once part of a much larger landmass, and the rising tides that occurred around 400 to 500 AD inundated the land to make these smaller islands. The loss of these land masses could have also been compounded by the changing geological features that came out of the last ice age. So, there is evidence of geological land masses changing in that part of the Atlantic Ocean. Those changes may have led to Hy-Brasil's disappearance, this making it a real possibility that the island did exist some centuries ago, this when the sea levels were much lower. There are those that argue the island is nothing but fantasy and did not exist then and does not exist today. The story of the island revealing itself to the naked eye once every 7 years is pure mythology. What do you think about this mysterious land? Is it an actual land mass that has since long disappeared into the ocean? Is it a magical land which can only be seen when the fairies allow? Or is it a gateway to another dimension inhabited by an extraterrestrial race? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, if you like what I do here on the channel, hit that red button, like and share. You can catch the latest by searching We Are If. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.